Hi Anthony, first of all I would like to ask about the material UFC posted on the YouTube, which consists 5 of your finishes. I would like to ask if you saw the material and do you have any, the favorite one from them?
No, I didn't. Which ones were on there?
I think that was the Mutapovic, the Shogun Rua ending, Sanchez, Lombard.
My favorite's probably Shogun. Just probably because it was my first UFC main event. And the dude's such a legend, you know what I mean? That was such a crazy event. It was short notice. It was a big fight for me, you know what I mean? It was a big ask to fight someone like Shogun on 10 days notice and fly all the way to Germany, and so that's probably my favorite one.
So that's another Europe event for you in the UFC, but right now you are also in the main event fighting on the home turf of Alexander Gustafsson. What's that goes through your mind fighting here in Sweden in front of his fans?
I like to travel. I historically do pretty well here in Europe. I know that I think that the European fans appreciate my fight style and my attitude. People here are really, really chill. They're super respectful and really nice, and I think that I fit in with that mentality. But I know that I'm not going to be the hometown favorite. It's his hometown, and we've been really respectful. So I don't expect them to cheer or be excited for me to come out, but I also don't expect them to boo me either. I think that it's really easy to see the mutual respect that Gus and I have. There's no beef with each other. We're two guys that are we're really fighting for pride. We're trying to prove something to ourselves. Both of us are coming off tough losses, and I think that we both understand where we're at. Like I understand where he is, and he understands where I am. This isn't about him or me or whatever. This is two guys fighting to make themselves feel better, and I think that the Sweden fans can appreciate that. I think everyone feels there's something special happening.
You've been very self-deprecating when you're kind of talking about the John Jones fight. You've been very critical of yourself. When you're talking about coming out against Gustafsson, you're talking about wanting to put hands on him. Do you feel in some way, it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but do you feel as though that fight with Jones, it kind of nearly tarnished the image you want to portray as a fighter because you're so aggressive usually, it's all action. That's just what it seems to be when I'm hearing you speak about it.
Yeah, I do. I feel like if you ask anybody, who's Anthony Smith as a fighter, I think that they would tell you someone that goes out and gets it and kind of throws caution to the wind a little bit, and I'm exciting and I always show up. I've had a long storied career. And I do have some losses, but it was never for lack of effort or for lack of performance. I've always left it all in there, and I didn't, and it's really frustrating for me. If I'd have went out there and done everything I possibly could, and I was able to pull the trigger, and he just beat me, I would be able to deal with it better. But I don't feel like that, and I'm self-deprecating because it's how I feel. I'm embarrassed in my performance.
Is this part of the process, though? Is this how you get the best out of yourself, being so hard on yourself after a performance like that?
Absolutely. All the pain and the things that I put myself through because of the loss, I do it because I feel like I deserve it. I'm almost punishing myself, and that's been my drive to this entire training camp. I got to get this. I got to get this terrible feeling out of my stomach. And like I said with Ariel, I don't care what happens in the fight. It's not about the end result. It's about performing, and that doesn't mean I don't want to win, because I absolutely do. I don't think anyone can argue that. It's about performing and really getting this terrible feeling out of my stomach. It really is. It's all this is about.
Have you been a bit of a handful to be around since that fight?
Absolutely. I'm probably a terrible person to be around right now. When fighters are getting ready for fights, they get real crabby and they get real short-tempered, and then they fight and they let all that frustration out that they have built up to the entire training camp. Well, I never got to let it out, so I've been like this for like 6 months. Like I'm losing my shit here, and I got to get rid of it.
Do you draw any parallels between this and the Shogun fight? I remember you kind of coming in on short notice there and essentially shocking the world that night. I mean, do you draw any parallels between Hamburg and Stockholm in that regard?
A little bit with my mindset. The Shogun fight was very similar with my mindset because in the Shogun fight it was short notice. I wasn't expected to win. I didn't really care. I just wanted to go in and fight. I wasn't focused on the end result. I wasn't focused on the prize at the end, you know. And it's very similar how I feel right now. I just want to go fight. That's it.
What type of fight are you expecting from Alex on fight night? I mean, what are you expecting to bring to the table?
I think he's going to bring the same thing he always brings. He's dangerous. His movement is great. His boxing is clean, and he's going to bring it. You know, I'm sure he feels just like I do. Especially coming off of his third opportunity to fight for a title. Like there's a lot of pain that comes with that. You know, we've both been doing this for a long time, and I don't expect anything less than a guy that's absolutely ready. But so am I, you know, and I think that he's expecting the same thing, and I think that's where the kind of the mutual respect comes from. You know, when we see each other, it's, you know, we've rode the elevator a couple times together, you know, and there's that real calm silence and the smiles, you know, like we both know what we're gonna do, and there's no secrets. So it's almost like there's no reason for us not to laugh and giggle because we keep getting stuck on the elevator together. You know, I think everyone else is a little bit uncomfortable, but him and I, it's almost like we're gonna fight and we're gonna tear each other apart, but like we understand each other.
Yesterday, that was announced that Yoela Romero is getting $27 million of a compensation due to his process with a supplement company. I wanted to ask if you received such a big amount of cash from such process. Would you like to continue your MMA career, or rather spend the money on your family and sit well and went back from the sport?
Yeah, I would still fight. You know, I've always said this. I've never done this for money or for fame or you know, for any other reason other than wanting to be a world champion. So I'd imagine that Yoela Romero is probably pretty similar to me. That guy's a fighter, so I don't assume that he's going to be stopping anytime soon.
Going back to your training camp before fighting with Gustafsson, were there any changes, specific changes applied by your trainers or you combining to the training camp before the championship fight?
Nothing. We didn't change anything. You know, I'm not one of those guys that, you know, things don't go your way and you start looking around and blaming other people and having to change everything. I think the biggest problem in that fight was I, for whatever reason, I just wasn't clicking, you know, and I wasn't pulling the trigger and I wasn't just going, you know, but the training camp for that fight was phenomenal. You know, I felt really good. I was fast. I was sharp. I was ready, and you know, I just didn't do what I was supposed to do. It had nothing to do with not being ready. So we just kept on moving. You know, I took a couple weeks off and jumped right back into it, and I'm as good now, or better than I was when I was gonna fight John. You know, this time I'm just gonna show up.
Last quick question from me, because before the UFC Hamburg fight, I asked you about your prediction for the fight, that it was the perfect prediction. So what is your prediction, and do you have one for the Saturday's night?
You know, honestly, I don't have a prediction. You know, I've said it over and over and over again. I'm going to march across the cage and I'm going to swing hammers, and whatever happens, happens. If he gets too close, I'll drag him to the ground. If he gets up, I'll do it again. I honestly don't know what's going to happen, because I haven't thought that far. I'm doing the best I can to not overthink this, and I'm just going to go in and react and do what I feel is right at the time. So honestly, I don't know. I think that the fight will just progress the way it happens. You know, I'm just going to fight free and loose and see what happens from there.
Thank you.